BIS Commodities, taking a look at this week in review. Let's start out by just taking a look where things closed for the week. It looks as if May corn closed up 13 cents at $4.92. Dees corn up 7 at $4.87. May beans up 28 cents this week at $14.36. November beans up 13 cents at $11.90. Interesting, we were up 28 cents this week in the May beans, while we take a look at the Chinese markets. Their daily exchange was actually down 10 cents on the week, and they were also softer on their meal and oil as well. Kind of interesting to look at. Wheat was up 2 cents on the week at $6.95. Volatile week there. Live cattle did see a good push up. We've seen the April's up $2.40 this week at $146.40, and hogs closed out the week 22 cents lower in the April contract at $125.40. Upon the close today of the livestock markets, the USDA released the Hogs and Pigs report, and it was fairly highly anticipated after a week of volatile trading, and with hogs every day pushing out and hitting those all-time highs. It was interesting to see what we're going to see as far as numbers coming out of that, with the recent PED epidemic still ongoing. And the USDA was looking for the average trade guesstimate was about 5 to 6% less on hogs, down around that 94 to 95% for total hogs, and the numbers came out at 97%. So the report is going to be viewed as bearish, especially with some whisper numbers well below 10% going into this report, not knowing what type of numbers we were going to get from the USDA. It'll certainly be interesting come 9 o'clock Monday morning to see how the trade reacts to this report. Moving on over, taking a look at cattle for the week. We did see an early cash trade this week, 152 from the majors in the south, 154 in the Corn Belt. Some regionals up to 156, 157 was reported out there. Certainly helped the cattle, the futures market. It'll be interesting as we roll over into the month of April. Will we see that futures and cash converge? Seasonally, we do see a tendency for that cash cattle market to peak somewhere here in this time frame. But with such a wide basis, one would expect that we're going to have to see some convergence between cash and futures as we roll into the month of April. Certainly something to keep an eye on. The choice cutouts holding in well this week. Seems to be holding that 240 area range as well. Certainly something to keep an eye on again as we move into next week is how the cash continues to trade at such a strong level, especially after we've seen last week's cattle on feed numbers showing larger placements than expected, which would be bearish the deferred months, which are very undervalued compared to the front end of this market right now, as well as the cash trade. The grain markets this week, we did see CIF basis, river basis soften for both corn and beans. Corn down about 3 cents, beans down 7 cents. Domestically, we did see corn basis hold fairly steady across the nation, affirming a little bit. Soybean basis was firmer, steady to firmer as well. We're seeing the eastern part of the grain belt continuing to firm basis. Both beans, more so beans than meal at this point, as the supplies are certainly out west compared to east right now. Taking a look at South American basis, we are continuing to see their basis soften for both meal and for beans as well, as harvest continues to trudge along. Over 70% of Brazil is expected to be harvested now, and they're starting to get into a pretty good start into Argentina as well. So the spread between cash between the Gulf here and the Gulf down in South America is continuing to widen, and it's making it a little bit more lucrative as far as bringing beans up from South America into the United States, as reports are continuing to be told of the Chinese reselling Brazilian beans back into the American markets. Next week we do get we get our quarterly stocks report and planning intentions report. This report does have a history of violent moves, and with a wide range of ideas, over 700 million bushels as far as stocks on corn going into the report. It's setting itself up probably for another very volatile report. And with the amount of money coming into the marketplace, we could see, I would suspect we will see a violent reaction due to that money coming into play as well. The managed funds do hold as long a position in corn, beans, and wheat as long as the last time we've seen this amount of length was back in 2012, the drought year. We haven't acquired that much length compared to that year, but we are still holding a very sizable position. And if you were to throw cattle and hogs into that basket of commodities as well, USDA, the managed funds may be holding the longest position ever of all of those 5 commodities. But taking a look at the stocks report, the trade is expecting about a 7 billion bushel carryout. Last year at this time we were at 5.4 billion. So certainly we have some more corn in play going into the report. We're seeing estimates as high as 7.54 billion and as low as 6.8 billion going into this report as far as stocks. Soybean, the trade is estimating a stocks number of 989 million bushels. Last year we were just under a billion at 998. So the trade is expecting a tighter stocks report from next Monday at 11 o'clock. And that we aren't going to go in and take a look at the balance sheet as far as supply and demand. That will be another 10 days or so from now. Also on Monday we'll get our planning intentions report as well. Corn is looking at 92.7 million acres as an average estimate compared to 95.3 total acres last year. And soybeans are looking at 81 million acres of beans as an average estimate compared to 76.5 billion bushel beans last year. So the corn number is a little bit lower. The bean number, if we plant them, will be the largest amount of beans ever planted, and substantially so. Certainly they're setting ourselves up for a lot of volatility come Monday, but the stocks will probably be the original driver of the markets to see how the market reacts to the stocks report, and the secondary news item will probably take a look at the stocks. So if you have any questions about these markets or the report or anything else related to the ag world, give us a call here at BIS Commodities at 1-800-373-2525, or check us out at the web at biscommodities.com.